Hello, listening squirrels. Let's get back to our chapter 18, I think it was. You'll know, the title will be up. You shall. I'll keep my promise in spite of everything, but it will be hard to see things going wrong when a word would set it right. You know what will happen if you do, and Polly looked so threatening that Fan trembled before her, discovering that the gentlest girls, when roused, are more impressive than any shrew, for even turtle doves peck gallantly to defend their nest. If it is true about Maria, what shall we do? Asked Fanny after a pause. Bear it. People always do bear things somehow, answered Polly, looking as if sentence had been passed upon her. But if it isn't, cried Fan, unable to endure the sight, then I shall wait. And Polly's face changed so beautifully that Fan hugged her on the spot, fervently wishing that Maria Bailey never had been born. Then the conversation turned to lover number 2, and after being a long confabulation, Polly gave it as her firm belief that A.S. had forgotten M.M. and was rapidly finding consolation in the regard of F.S. With this satisfactory decision, the council ended after the ratification of a royal league, by which the friends pledged themselves to stand staunchly by one another through the trials of the coming year. It was a very different winter from the last for both girls. Fanny applied herself to her duties with redoubled ardor, for A.S. was a domestic man and admired housewifely accomplishments. If Fanny wanted to show him what she could do toward making a pleasant home, she certainly succeeded better than she suspected. For in spite of many failures and discouragements behind the scenes, the little house became a most attractive place, to Mr. Sidney at least, for he was more the house friend than ever, and seemed determined to prove that change of fortune made no difference to him. Fanny had been afraid that Polly's return might endanger her hopes, but Sidney met Polly with the old friendliness, and very soon convinced her that the nipping in the bud process had been effectual, for being taken early, the sprouting affection had died easily and left room for an older friendship to blossom into a happier love. Fanny seemed glad of this, and Polly soon set her heart at rest by proving that she had no wish to try her power. She kept much at home when the day's work was done, finding it pleasanter to sit dreaming over book or sewing alone than to exert herself, even to go to the shawls. Fan don't need me, and Sidney don't care whether I come or not, so I'll keep out of the way, she would say, as if to excuse her seeming indolence. Polly was not at all like herself that winter, and those nearest to her saw and wondered at it. Will got very anxious. She was so quiet, pale, and spiritless, and distracted poor Polly by his affectionate stupidity till she completed his bewilderment by getting cross and scolding him. So he consoled himself with Maud, who now, being in her teens, assumed dignified airs, and ordered him about in a style that afforded him continued amusement and employment. Western news continued vague, for Fan's general inquiries produced only provokingly unsatisfactory replies from Tom, who sang the praises of the beautiful Miss Bailey, and professed to be consumed by a hopeless passion for someone in such half-comic, half-tragic terms that the girls could not decide whether it was all the boy's mischief or only a cloak to hide the dreadful truth. We'll have it out with him when he comes home in the spring, said Fanny to Polly, as they compared the letters of their brothers and agreed that men were the most uncommunicative and provoking animals under the sun. for Ned was so absorbed in business that he ignored the whole Bailey question and left them in utter darkness. Hunger of any sort is hard to bear, especially when the sufferer has a youthful appetite, and Polly was kept on such short allowance of happiness for 6 months that she got quite thin, and interestingly, and often when she saw how big her eyes were getting, and how plainly the veins on her temples showed, indulged the pensive thought that perhaps spring dandelions might blossom o'er the grave. She had no intention of dying till Tom's visit was over, however, and as the time drew near, she went through such alternations of hope and fear, lived in such a state of feverish excitement that spirits and color came back, and she saw that the interesting pallor she had counted on would be an entire failure. May came at last, and with it a burst of sunshine which cheered even poor Polly's much enduring heart. Fanny came walking in upon her one day, looking as if she brought tidings of such great joy that she hardly knew how to tell them. "Prepare yourself, somebody is engaged," she said in a solemn tone that made Polly put up her hand as to ward off an expected blow. "No, don't look like that, my poor dear. It isn't Tom, is it?" Oh, wait a minute. Here she goes. "It isn't Tom, it's I." Of course, there was a rapture followed by one of the deliciously confidential talks which bosom friends enjoy, interspersed with tears and kisses, smiles and sighs. "Oh, Polly, though I've waited and hoped so long I couldn't believe it when it came and don't deserve it, but I will, for the knowledge that he loves me seems to make everything possible," said Fanny with an expression which made her really beautiful for the first time in her life. "You happy girl," sighed Polly, then smiled and added, "I think you deserve all that's come to you, for you have truly tried to be worthy of it, and whether it ever came or not, that would have been a thing to be proud of." "He says that is what made him love me," answered Fanny, never calling her lover by his name, but making the little personal pronoun a very sweet word by the tone in which she uttered it. "He was disappointed in me last year, he told me, but you said good things about me. And though he didn't care much then, yet when he lost you and came back to me, he found that you were not altogether mistaken, and he has watched me all this winter, learning to respect and love me better every day." "Oh, Polly, when he said that, I couldn't bear it, because in spite of all my trying, I'm still so weak and poor and silly." "We don't think so, and I know I'll be able, and you'll be all he hopes to find you, for he's just the husband you ought to have." "Thank you all the more, then, for not keeping him for yourself," said Fanny, laughing the old blithe laugh again. "That was only a slight aberration of his. He knew better all the time. It was your white cloak and my idiotic behavior the night we went to the opera that put the idea into his head," said Polly, feeling as if the events of that evening had happened some 20 years ago when she was a giddy young thing, fond of gay bonnets and girlish pranks. "I'm not going to..." Squirrels on the roof. "I'm not going to tell Tom a word about it, but keep it for a surprise till he comes. He'll be here next week, and then we'll have a grand clearing up of mysteries," said Fan, evidently feeling that the millennium was at hand. "Perhaps," said Polly, as her heart fluttered, and then sank, for this was a cause where she could do nothing but hope and keep her hands busy with Will's new set of shirts. Okay. I hate it when I stumble. There's a good deal more of the silent suffering than the world suspects, for the women who dare are few, the women who stand and wait are many. But if work baskets were gifted with powers of speech, they could tell stories more true and tender than any we could read. For women often sew the tragedy or comedy of life into their work as they sit, apparently safe and serene at the home, yet are thinking deeply, living wholehearted histories and praying fervent prayers, while they embroider pretty trifles or do the weekly mending. And that's all. Only just a little under 11 minutes. And the next chapter, chapter 19, is called Tom's Success. And I will stop there, and I'm sorry it was so short, but I haven't hardly stitched any today. I've been trying. That new calico kitty yarn I got, instead of putting it on my Swift and caking it up like I should, I started rolling it by hand, and now I've got a huge humongous barf at the end. So I spent forever last night working on it. I'm almost there today because I want to get on some other stuff. How you like my new Halloween and fall? Some of the stuff is just fall stuff. And this one I'll put back here after Halloween for Thanksgiving. And I have some of these are kind of Thanksgiving too. But I just love to decorate, especially for fall. It's getting to be fall, y'all. And we get beautiful colors of yarn like these. Woo! Bougie. I've shown you those before. Okay. We'll see some more of that kind of stuff later. And probably look at this book a little more tomorrow at live time. And I may even have a giveaway for this magazine in the chat tomorrow. So come and see. You never know. There were scarecrows in here that Pamela's Adoring Crochet did. And oh my gosh, they are so cute. Isn't that cute? That could be for Thanksgiving too. That's what she did. She did a cute little garland for those little fellas. So if you haven't seen Pamela's Adoring Crochet, where she made those, or she showed those, get over there. And please show our buddy Madonna some love. Inherited Stitches, Elaine Brown, Mama Swift. So many of our folks. Love you bunches. Ursula too. OM Granny Square. She's my buddy in South Africa. Love y'all. Be sweet, don't be ugly. Bye-bye.